Hi, everybody. Welcome. For those who are new here, my name is 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. I'm also a leadership and executive coach, but today I am wearing my therapist hat and in my therapist zone. I'm here with Bria. I will let Bria introduce herself in just a second. To start out with, though, I like to kind of be transparent about how I know these other clinicians, if I do know them. And Bria and I actually know each other fairly well clinically. And we've had a consultation group together for, I don't know, 4 years or something,
Mhm.
started in the
Five years
pandemic.
almost, yeah.
It's been a while. So I really respect Bria's clinical work and see firsthand what that is. For those who don't know, clinicians are encouraged to be in consultation groups. It's a way to ensure you're doing best practices, making sure if there's some sort of hard case or something you haven't, encountered before, that you have colleagues that you can talk to, that you can trust with, being vulnerable about what's going on and support you might need. So with that, I will turn it over to Bria to introduce herself, what kind of niches you work with, populations.
Yeah. Hey, Keely and everyone. I'm Bria Milicevic. I'm a clinical psychologist in private practice in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I do a hybrid model where I do some online therapy, and then I also have an office in San Rafael in San Francisco. So I see some people in person as well. And moving a little bit more into that after the pandemic and increasing that a bit more. Um, I see mostly individuals, teens and adults, and for a variety of mental health concerns, whether it be depression, anxiety, relationship concerns, life transitions. But my main specialty is in addictions, and I focus on not only substance addictions, but issues or addictions with behaviors or process addictions. So that's a specialty of mine.
Hmm. Could you explain for those who don't know what a process addiction
Mhm.
is?
Yeah, sure. So this could be anything from, if there is something going on with, it could be gambling, it could be shopping, it can be internet use, it can be porn use, eating can come up, sex. So it can kind of run the range, but it's a lot of some of these behavioral addictions that can get started and then people lose control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I think sometimes terms people may not know, so
Yes.
that's one of them, but it's very encompassing of a lot of things, it sounds like. So, Bria, what was your journey to getting here? How did you decide to become a clinical psychologist?
Yes, and it was a journey. Let's see. When I was younger, I wanted to be in the FBI.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Oh my
I
gosh, I love
I was
it.
kind of obsessed with it. Wanted to be a detective or in the FBI. And was really interested in, of course, like what makes people, behave and do the things that they do and what are, their thoughts, what's going on for them. I always wanted to try to figure that out. And so I thought I was going to kind of go more the legal route. But when I got into college, I was doing like a political science major because there wasn't any other criminal justice major available. So I started with political science and then felt like this is not what I'm wanting. I'm wanting to be a little bit more in the psychological field and to be able to help people. And so I was able to construct a dual major where I got a criminal justice degree and then a psychology degree. And so when I got out of college, I wanted to go further with it. So I looked into different programs. I still was very interested in the legal system. So I did a master's degree in forensic psychology and was really into it and thought that I was going to kind of stay in the legal realm in some way or another. But it was funny because how just things happened and career-wise, some of the jobs that I was getting was more in community mental health, social work. I worked for Child Protective Services and doing more of those things, working a lot with adolescents, working a lot with families and youth. And then starting to get a little bit more into the substance abuse and addiction field. So when I got my master's degree, I moved states and quickly learned that the state that I was moving to was not accepting a lot of the courses that I had taken and my practicum hours. So they were going to make me go through a whole bunch more of classes and hours to be able to just get licensed at my master's level.
Oh,
So it was so frustrating.
it's
Um,
so intense that these states are just so different in how they handle
exactly. Yes.
clinical work.
Yes, absolutely. Because my school was geared toward that state and the licensing for that state.
Or,
So I had thought about it and decided I wanted to go more the PhD route at that point. Because if I was going to need to take more classes and also do more practicum and internship hours, I thought, I'd like to do my PhD because that would open up some more doors for me around potentially being able to do testing and assessment, maybe teaching, maybe doing some more court work, and maybe going into the forensic realm at some point. So I completed my PhD, I think it was in 2012, and got and started working in the Kaiser system. Again, very focused in on chemical dependency, working a lot with adolescents and their families and adults. And then in 2017, decided I wanted to go out into on my own and go into private practice. So I've been full-time in my own practice since then.
wow,
Yeah.
quite the journey. I had no clue you wanted to be a part of it. I've always uh, loved the forensic psychology kind of field too, as well, at least what I've seen of it, which is probably pretty glamorized. But I do love the kind of tracking down and looking at some interesting cases and those kinds of things that come along with FBI. That's interesting. That didn't know that about you. I learned something new. It's great. Okay, so what do you like about being a clinician?
Hmm. There's quite a few things. Of course, and I think most of us feel this way, just being able to help others, to feel like you're making a difference is really, really important to me. Having an impact, I think especially working with youth, I feel like it's rich for the opportunity for them to make changes and growth. And um, so I love that. I love the interactions, the relationship. I learn from my clients every single day. I love that too, and it's such a in-depth work that we do. I also love the flexibility of it and being able to be creative. I think that's the other thing too I love about being in my own practice is that I can practice and bring in modalities and different ways of practicing therapy with my clients and what works for them. And I can be, flexible and creative with that. And so I love that too.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your favorite modalities? How do you kind of practice with people?
So I use a blend of different modalities. I was trained primarily in cognitive behavioral therapy, so I kind of come from that school of thought. So I'll use some of that, but I'll also use acceptance and commitment therapy, schema therapy, which can go a little bit deeper than the cognitive behavioral therapy. It also brings in attachment theory and psychodynamic theory into its approach. So instead of just looking at kind of the ways of thinking and cognitive distortions and then how that can influence emotions and behaviors, it goes a bit deeper into what are our patterns and our schemas from childhood and our attachments and how do those keep coming up even into adulthood, and then ways to make a little bit of deeper changes, not only cognitively, but in your actions, and then also emotionally how you're feeling and kind of healing some of those whether they be wounds or traumas that have occurred in the past and making changes to where you're not repeating some of the same things now.
Mhm.
Um, I think the other some of the other things is I tend to be solution focused, and I like to bring mindfulness into the therapy as well. I think that's important. I recently, within this last year and a half or so, I got certified in yoga psychology. So I'm bringing that in a little bit more too, where I'm doing some more of the practices, the yogic practices with clients who are open to that and want to try that, especially around anxiety and depression, addiction, trauma, and bringing in some like the breath practices and some of the asanas, the postures that can be helpful for some of those concerns.
Yeah. Yoga
Yeah.
is a real it calms the nervous system in a way that, can kind of be a full body experience.
Yes. Yeah. And I find that it goes a little bit deeper than just like the talk therapy. For some people, that really feels a bit more effective for them
Hmm.
to be able to get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resonates a little differently.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Okay, so what does a typical session look like for you? Is it organic? Is it very kind of structured? What is it?
Yeah, well, it depends. So, the first session, like the intake session with a new client, I tend to be a little bit more structured.
Mhm.
So we'll go over, policies, what to expect from therapy, the paperwork, and then I'll have certain questions I like to ask, especially background history, what's bringing them in, what are some of the concerns, have they had therapy before? Um, and diagnoses, what else that we need to be thinking about with the treatment planning.
Mhm.
And then I also like to talk about goals for treatment and how to measure those. I like to be collaborative because it's I want people to feel like they're getting what they're needing and that what they're wanting. It's
Mhm.
their time, it's their money, it's their energy. I want them to feel like they're really getting something out of coming in. And
Mhm.
so I like to collaborate on that. And in that first session, I'll also see if there's anything in particular that they whether it be the issue that's bringing them in or anything else, that they're getting something from that first session that they're
Mhm.
walking away from with.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then ongoing sessions can be a little bit more open. Yeah, I like to just kind of check in. How was your week? How are you doing? Anything that's come up that is important to talk about today. So I'll set a little bit of an agenda, and I'll ask questions and do reflection interpretations. But I also really like to give space for the person that I'm working with to be able to be present in the moment and really check in for themselves of what they're needing and what would be helpful.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's always a surprise for clients. Sometimes they're like, wait, we're slowing down. Like I got all these things, all these agenda items, but
Yeah.
slowing down piece can be so powerful and just kind of sitting with where they're at in the moment.
Yes, absolutely. And just, yeah, it's interesting when you do that, like what can come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's your style is very much meeting them where they're at and letting them kind of drive the agenda of what they need versus your agenda or what you think they may need. You're kind of looking for ways to kind of meet them wherever they're saying they're at.
Right, yes. And sometimes for some clients, they like this, others maybe not as much, and I'm not going to use the word homework, but sometimes what we'll do is we'll have some ways that they can practice
Uh-huh.
in the week in between our sessions of some of the things that we're working on and some of the changes that they're wanting to make. Um, and so I think again, for some people, that's very helpful to have like
Mhm.
a takeaway or something to work on
Yeah.
and to really start seeing the changes in their day-to-day life.
Yeah. Something to kind of hold on to.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything that surprises you about therapy still?
Um, hmm. Well, it's interesting because every day can be a little different. And everybody's in different places each day and what they're coming in with. Um, I think it's interesting because when you work with people for a long time, you start to notice patterns in human behavior and some things that can feel a little bit predictable in a way.
Sure.
But there are things that can happen in the therapy, especially with clients that I've worked with for a while, they may bring something in that we've never talked about or touched upon. And so that can be kind of surprising to me. And I get really curious, you know, why now? And how come, maybe it's taken a little time. And there can be, of course, a lot of factors for that. But sometimes that can be a little surprising. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be right at the tail end of the session that it comes.
Often is. Often it's a mic drop right at the end, and you're
Exactly. Yes.
like,
So
where's
I
the
would say
information
sometimes
there?
those are the things that can surprise me.
For
Yes.
sure. Yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you. That's so surprising. Okay, so what do you wish people knew about therapy?
Um, I think one of the biggest things is it's a process and it's a commitment and it's not a quick fix. It's not, some people that maybe haven't had therapy before or yeah, are new to it and they're not sure what it's going to be like. I think some people might feel like you go in, you just talk about your problems, you solve them, that's it. Yeah, check that off. Or to be able to go on an app and do it, or to be able to um, use technology in a way versus having the actual therapeutic relationship.
Mhm.
So I think what's important for people to know is that it's work, it's a commitment. It takes some time, so to have some patience with it, um, to allow yourself to show up. And I know that this can take a bit of time and work too, but just show up vulnerable and open, and kind of willing to go there and be honest. I think the other big thing is it's important to establish the trust and the safety within the relationship. Um, yeah, so I think some of those things are really important, and it's not just a one stop or a drop in
Yeah.
every so often. I mean, there are some people that they've done the work and they've met their goals or they've gotten to where they want to be. And so sometimes they just want to have like a check-in session here and there, and that's understandable.
Mhm.
Um, but from the beginning, it's really important to kind of stay consistent. And, a lot of the research says even just weekly sessions, especially in the beginning, is more effective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this in other conversations, but there's a lot of apps and things marketing right now around this kind of quick fix idea of therapy that you can go once a month or once every few months and pop in and that's it. And it's like you're barely scratching the surface if you're doing that.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So final question for the official questions. What do you have a favorite tool or some sort of, thing that you like to offer to those you work with?
Um, yeah, I think there's a couple of different things that maybe not one favorite tool.
Sure.
But I like to bring in some of just going for a moment to more of the mindfulness or the yoga kind of practices. Sometimes breath work, 4-7-8 breathing, box breathing, alternate nostril breathing can be really helpful for people. And it can just take a few minutes. And sometimes we'll just do it in the session, we'll practice, and then they can do it on their own, especially to calm, if there's anxiety going on or to kind of regulate the nervous system. So I like to use that as a tool that somebody can go to and they can do on their own outside a session. Um, I think there's also like apps. I mean, speaking of technology, but there are apps that can supplement, right? Or that can in the in between times of session. Like there's an I Am Sober app for people that are maybe struggling with an addiction. There's a Mind Shift app that can be helpful too. And I think it's also very mindful because you're not only is it a tool and you're getting something from it and ways to kind of work through whatever's going on, but it's also you're very aware, right? Like when you're actually engaging with the app, you're aware of like, okay, what is my mood right now, or where is the anxiety, or what is going on with my, am I getting triggered right now to use? Or so I think that not only are you getting something from using the app, but you're also really tapping into your awareness and your mindfulness.
Yeah. I always think that awareness piece is so critical to kind of all therapy
Yeah,
related, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Love it. I'm gonna go look up some of those. Okay, so we get to a little bit more of the less clinical, more fun, I would say, questions. So are you ready, Bria?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. So first question, what's making you happy right now?
Oh, there's a lot of things actually. I recently got married. So yeah, so I'm very happy with my relationship and where we're at. Um, I've gotten back into trail running. And so, being up in Marin, there's so many trails to discover and explore. And so that makes me very happy to be able to do that. And yeah, just being able to see people in person again, to be able to have my practice, and to start doing a little bit more again of the yoga work with it, which I've always really loved yoga. And so I'm thinking about going on and getting my teacher training teacher training certification. Um, yeah, and I think just spending time with friends and family too is making me very happy in this new year. So,
Mhm, mhm.
uh,
All sounds wonderful. Wonderful, fun, lovely, happy stuff. Um, okay, so what's your favorite app currently? Do you have a favorite app?
I use the Peloton app. I'm very active, so and athletic. So I use the Peloton app almost daily for one thing or another,
Mhm.
whether it be for cycling or rowing or so that's an app. And then also just around the um, physical fitness area, I also like to box. And so I have an app, like a boxing timer app, to do my rounds with. So,
Do you have like I've got a bag in my garage. We've never even talked about this. I've got a bag in my
oh,
garage. I
no.
love boxing. What
Yeah, nice.
is it like actually with a like a bag or is it
Yeah,
just
so we have a heavy bag.
uh-huh.
We have the heavy bag. We have Bob.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
uh-huh.
Familiar with Bob.
Yeah, we have a double end bag. And then we have mitts. And so my husband and I will get on the mitts with each other and
I love it.
love it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm learning all kinds of new things. It's great. Um, okay, beach or mountains?
oh, can I say both?
Sure. Sure you can.
Yes, one of the things I love again about being up in Marin is going to Stinson,
Hmm.
doing like a trail run or a hike, and then going and sitting on the beach and or walking on the beach.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love
there's
them
so
both.
many great hikes up in Marin that lead you to the beach, kind of
Yeah,
you know, over the
yeah,
hills and then you come out on the cliffs or, kind of inlets.
it's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
gorgeous.
So I would have to say both.
Fair. Fair. Understandable.
Yeah,
Okay, what is one thing that movies never get right
about therapy.
about anything? About anything, but that is something, a theme that kind of comes up.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, I guess speaking about therapy, I just sometimes I cringe at some of the movies and the portrayal, sometimes of how they portray therapists, in kind of a, whether it be a stereotypical way or, my shrink and then I think also the all of the ethical violations.
Everywhere, all the time.
Yeah. And like it's okay. It's
Right.
normal. These
Oh, well, that's just the way it is. Like,
right. And this is how it is with being a therapist and a client relationship. And yeah, so I think those things movies tend to not get quite right. Sometimes with the diagnoses a little bit too, but I would say with the ethical, crossing boundaries, dual relationships, conflict of interest, advice giving, like just we're in the range.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always amazed by the ones that are like, "Oh, I'm dating my therapist." And it's like, "In what
Right,
world? In what
right.
world?"
And right.
Never gonna happen.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm 100% with you. Okay, what's the best way to relax?
Um, I think going out to nature for me is really key. It actually really helps me a lot. Um, Yoga and meditation is also high on my list.
Mhm.
But then also just hanging out at home, hanging out on the couch, reading, my husband and I, watching our shows or just sitting outside, when the weather's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All good, all good. Sorry, I just got a notification about switching my microphone, but you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's about, so I'm just gonna ignore it. Dream trip location.
Ooh, there's so many. Um, hmm. We've been talking a little bit because we haven't taken a honeymoon yet. It'll probably be next year, but we've talked a little bit about New Zealand and or Thailand.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So would love to explore both.
Hmm.
I think with Thailand, there's the spiritual side, the nature, and then also maybe even like the training, like the boxing, the Thai kickboxing, and maybe even doing something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I went to Thailand right before the pandemic happened, and we went to a Muay Thai fight, which was like
awesome.
interesting. So
Wow, yeah, I'm
wonderful. It
learning
was
all sorts of
fascinating.
things about you. That's so
I know,
cool.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. You'd probably really like Chiang Mai too, because it's very that spiritual, beautiful, lush,
Yes.
high mountainy area.
Nice.
We can talk.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to.
Okay, advice would you give your younger self?
Hmm. Don't worry so much. Don't worry so much in general, and also what people think of you. Um, Trust in yourself and just maybe be a little bit more compassionate with yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, not be quite so hard.
Fair.
Yeah,
Uh, okay, out of the four seasons, what's the best one?
fall.
Fall. All right, that was solid fall.
It's solid fall for me. Yes.
Change of the leaves, the seasons, all
The
that kind of stuff.
change of the season. I like when it gets a little cooler. Yeah, the beauty of it. It's kind of you want to kind of snuggle in a little bit more. Things are happening again, like school is getting back into session and people coming back from vacations, but it doesn't feel it doesn't feel as harsh of a start to me versus like maybe coming back in from the new year and winter and the coldness and yeah, so there's something about fall that I just have always loved.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. You can't see, but I've got blankets and heaters and it's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold. I'd like to go back to fall. Okay, what would be the worst superhero power to have?
I think it would be mind reading. I think and I think that this one has probably come up before.
I'm surprised at how many there, because it was honestly my answer too, and it's surprising how many times it's come up. I think learning some things about how therapists think, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it would be t I think for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
One being in this field and that takes away from our work, right? And really getting to know someone. I think also if you're able to read people's minds, and not only is there a lot of chaos and having to sort through that, and I'm naturally a little bit more introverted anyway, so that would be a little too much. Um, but the other thing too is you might make how do you kind of clear that out to do some of the work? And it would be overwhelming. I think it'd just be a little too much.
I
Yeah.
agree. Wholeheartedly agree. What's your spirit animal?
I've always loved leopards. So
Like regular leopards or snow leopards or any kind of leopard?
it's regular leopards.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when I was gosh, I must have been maybe 7 or 8. I was a leopard in Cats for the school play. And I have many leopard prints, clothing, objects. I don't know. I've just always resonated with leopards, and I think it's, their strength, their power, their speed, their agility, but also how they can be powerful and adaptable and maybe agile, but they can also be playful. And so I don't know that there's always just been something with leopards. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Good answer. I like leopards too, but yeah, that's great. When you look back at your life, what do you hope you'll be able to say? Final question.
That I made a difference in this world,
Mhm.
that I helped as many people as possible to have had an impact and an influence to where maybe people are feeling better about themselves, about their lives, and about what they are imparting in this world. And to have brought maybe even, more love into the world and yeah, to have that kind of influence.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of like ripple effect that happens from the work that we do. Like
Yes.
impact. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you, Bria. You are seen.
So,
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to you are known, you are seen. Either way, appreciate you sharing.
yes, thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time and for having me on here.
Thanks, Bria. All
Yeah.
right.
Good to
And for everybody watching, I will put all of Bria's information, ways to get in touch with her below in the video. So of ample ways to reach out and meet Bria.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bria. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye.